this is a very, very thin line to tread, especially for leaders. So I acknowledge the challenging role which you have taken up as a leader. And here in this masterclass, we are looking to kind of polish these nuances so that you can create a larger impact along with results. Now, let me start with a quick research, which Gallup had done a survey which revealed that only 36% of the employees truly feel fulfilled, happy, satisfied, and are actively engaged at the workplace. That is a shocking number. 36% means almost 2 out of every 3 employee is feeling demotivated, disengaged, and it's almost disgruntled at the workplace. Now, not only this, so when we probe further, we find, and it's shocking because many of us who are in this webinar today could be having employees who are facing this, or we could be the victims too. So stay till the end to find answers on how you can actually make your team members or your peers actively engaged at the workplace. The further research by Ryan and Deci proved that there are multiple factors to have a good workplace, a very happy workplace, a better workplace, but these 3 factors stood out. The first one of them is a sense of autonomy. Do our employees or to our team members truly feel that sense of autonomy, or is there always someone breathing down their neck? The second one is even more interesting. It is the belief in the competence. Employees feel that the manager or the leader is not having enough belief in their potential or in their competence to do the things right. The third one is relatedness among the employees. How affiliated I feel to the vision of the organization, how aligned I am to the vision of the organization. These 3 are the critical factors to improve the workplace happiness quotient, as they call. And we truly believe that leader as coach is one of the forthcoming model of leadership that can truly solve this, because a coach, who is a leader, actually lets you he holds a space for you to be autonomous. He holds a space for you to explore your own purpose, your own goal. He brings alignment through questioning. He also questions the beliefs, and he has non-judgmental approach to the employee and team management. So leader as coach is definitely the future of the leadership. And that's why the importance of this in this masterclass. Now, in an attempt to resolve this, Dr. Daniel Goleman, a pioneer in emotional intelligence, did a research in which he publishes, the research, it's a HBR article which is named Leadership That Gets Results, in which he is trying to categorize the leadership styles into 6 key leadership styles based on emotional intelligence. Now, I'll quickly, kind of surface through each one of them. The first one is affiliative style. Somebody like Nelson Mandela, who used to foster a very deep emotional bond. He would know the names of the spouses. He would know the names of the children of the every worker in the cabinet, right? Then second one is democratic. Leaders who truly build consensus and encourage participation. The third one, and kind of very, very prominent in the corporate circle, is commanding leadership style. This leadership style actually wants compliance. So many of the quality engineers or testing managers, you would find they would demand compliance, SOPs followed. This is the commanding leadership style. The fourth one is pace setting. So in which a leader is walking the talk, and he also expects his followers to be excellent in execution and be self-motivated or self-directed. The fifth one is visionary. Again, very prominent one, from Elon Musk to Mahatma Gandhi, who could mobilize people toward a very crystal clear vision, however audacious that may be. Out of these 5 styles, the sixth one for us is the meat today, and that is the coaching style of leadership. In the article, Dr. Daniel Goleman actually, he writes, coaching style of leadership is the least understood, least practiced, and most impactful. That is why coaching is the future of leadership, because it develops people for future, building long-term strengths. Today, the entire IT industry is facing very heavy attrition. EdTech business is losing talent like crazy. How could we truly fight that attrition game if not using this coaching style of leadership? So this is the sixth style of leadership, and the core takeaway for you in this masterclass from this slide is, I'm sure by now, after understanding this, you have already placed leaders whom you have worked with in any one or two of these buckets, if I can put, right? I'm sure even you yourself, if you are self-aware, probably you also would be able to, put yourself in any one of these leadership styles. So use the chat box to know, to let us know which leadership style do you truly belong to, or if you know someone who is actually in any of these leadership style. I would love to know, to which leadership style truly do you belong. But the key intake from that particular article is this. This style is not to show that one leadership style is better from the other. No, it is not that. Each leadership style has its unique strengths and weaknesses. It is like having, if you have played golf, you don't use a single club for all the shots. You have different clubs which are used for different shots. Similarly, in your leadership role, you need to be equipped with multiple styles, which I've just now mentioned, and not only stick to one style. The problem with today's leadership is actually that they think that they are, let's say, only I'm affiliative leader, and that sticks throughout their leadership journey. So I invite you to consider, to know that in the article says you must be very well versed with the 4 of these leadership styles, 3 to 4 of them. I invite you to maybe reflect and even put in the chat box if you want to, how many leadership style truly are you well versed with? I'm putting this slide again, take 30 seconds, absorb each of these style and see how many styles have you truly mastered, or do you truly demonstrate? Any questions on these 6 leadership styles? Yes, PK is exactly right. Yeah, PK, you're absolutely right. Effective leadership is a combination of them. And the research says it is an effective combination of 3 to 4 styles. Based on the situation, you apply. It's not that commanding is, not acceptable, only coaching style is acceptable. It's not like that. Based on situation, you choose to don a different role and wear a different hat and use this leadership style effectively. Yeah, any more questions on this particular style? Then we'll move ahead. Great. Feel free to chime in and put these questions. We will take it later as well. Now, coming to the second segment of the presentation, as I said, we had done a survey in which we found out the 4 common challenges which every leader faces. These are the 4 common challenges. I've listed it here. The first one is, I am having not so supportive bosses and work relations are deteriorating. The second one is, I'm not able to meet business goals. My performance is taking a dip. The third one, again, a very common one, thanks to pandemic, I'm juggling with work-life balance and my family truly complains of trade-offs, health versus family versus job. The fourth one is mental well-being, remote working, and I'm staring at a midlife crisis. To resolve at least as many as we can, at least 2 of them, today, I invite Subash CV to take the presentation from here, and he would bring in his insights as to how can we truly navigate these leadership blues. I invite Subash to take over.
Thanks, Kiran. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, thanks for everyone who is on this call. Thanks for choosing to be here to shift your leadership to the, or a leadership quotient to the next level. As PK pointed out and Karan agreed, for us, leader as a coach is something that brings them all together. And one more point that also I want to reiterate from what Karan said from that slide is that particular slide was on leadership based on emotions. Those of us gray hair who had gone through the corporate life in an earlier generation, we very conveniently kept the emotion away. But with the millennials and the younger generation, I don't think leaders have that option. Now, coming back to this point, this pretty much the top 4 that we've got, and multiple shades. We just picked up the top 4 threads that came up. People facing issues at work could be very different from what is stated there. Very variance thereof. And I say that it kind of surprises me that so many of my coaching clients, a good percentage of my executive coaching clients, these are fast trackers, successful leaders on a successful path to move to the next level, being molded for the next level, and all that, high potentials, but they still have people who are not supportive enough, to the definitely the bosses, but in some cases even others. What is it about the corporate or business that we don't see, that support, unstinted support for the team? Yeah, next slide. So, very logical, right? Very simple. We make at Regal Unlimited, we try to make at least things simple, uncomplicated. That's our core value also. So if you look at it from what option a leader has, it's continue as it is. But when the leader continues in the status quo, then the leader is also complaining. The leader is also in a victim mode, saying that, why is this happening to me, or why the hell should I do this, and I'd never signed up for this, and all that self-deprecating space that a leader can get into or a manager can get into. Second one is quit the job. Karan mentioned the great resignation is something that's pretty much being experienced across the globe, but perhaps it's in the West that we have given that label, but it's as scary in other parts of the globe. And people leaving the job is something that is being a trouble that executives are struggling with. Then it is confronting the boss. So again, if you have anything else to add to this, is there anything else logically that we're missing out? Please feel free to go and put in the chat box. So now what happens when you do this? Yeah, that's a strategy that we want to look at briefly. Now, I'm sure all of us are familiar with this quote. People don't leave organizations, they leave bad bosses. That I think belongs to my generation. Currently, I think even that the phrase has to move to, I'm sure it has moved in some places, but that people don't leave even bosses, right? People just leave bad culture, bad organizations. But ultimately the boss faces the flag for high turnover. The leader faces the flag. Then the point that I want to remind everyone here is the bosses are permanent. They are not permanent. They're temporary. They're here only briefly, right? No leader, including some of these dictators across the globe, are permanent. At least the age will catch up. So where is the question of them being the permanent leader? Not so definitely in the corporate and the business. Organizations are also less temporary. Some of these organizations which we thought are, will have an enduring legacy are struggling. Netflix is struggling with subscription model, which it was a case study till recently, very recently, right? Relationships are not temporary. Relationships are enduring. So I want you to reflect on this particular slide, right? If you look at it as a continuum, the bosses are the least permanent. Somewhere organization, somewhere in between, but the relationships are enduring. Yeah. So a simple exercise, like what Karan was referring to, a simple strategy. Again, don't scoff at the simplicity. It is deliberately meant to be. Yeah, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, quote unquote. Now, if you pick up a diagram like this, look at if you have challenges at work, one of them could be a boss who is not supportive enough or who is actually playing a villain in that script. What are those elements that go into your work? Just take a minute to, if you have a pad and pen, please draw a circle, cut them into, a 5 or 6 like this or 8. What are the 6, 8 elements that are important to you at work? Those of you who are self-employed professionals here, who are business owners, who are founding, entrepreneurs, even for them, like, as a founder, what are my 8 elements that go into my work life? Even I can say that I don't have a boss, but I'm also responsible to somebody, right? the established companies are responsible to the board. So what are those 5, 6 elements? And I know some of the entrepreneurs who are facing flack with the board also, right? Board is not, some boards are not easy for the CEOs. Yeah. So we see them all. We listen some horror stories always. So if you break them into 8 parameters, we just took one example of a sales leader. The sales leader said, forget the percentage 12.5, it differs from person to person. Just to get a beautiful shape, we've given each one of them 12.5%. But for a sales leader who lives from month to month, and I've gone through it myself, these are some of the things that came up for him. So sales, yeah, monthly targets for sure, but also some other projects which are related to sales, which would help him create the pipeline and other stuff, not depend entirely on other parameters. The office building, there is a research which was done earlier. I've heard this when I was a banker, that when people are asked, what are 2 things that come to your mind when we ask you about your job? The top 2 were the boss, number 1, the number 2 was the office building. So those of the organizations which have jazzy buildings, there is some meaning even behind that. And I worked at ICICI Bank, their corporate office at BKC for 6 years. So it was, and I heard the story there itself. Status symbol, right? Those of us who are working with some reputed brands, it's a status symbol. We can't run away from it. Relationships at work. Some of our best friends are also from work. At least in my case, a lot of my good friends have always come from my corporate roles. Quality of the peers. Einstein famously said we are an average of 5 people that we interact with. Professional growth, right? We are part of an ecosystem. We are learning. As I say, it takes a village to educate a child. It takes an entire ecosystem to learn and grow for a corporate leader. And personal health, right? I mentioned ICICI Bank. We used to get 2 types of lunch at the canteen. One was the fruit and salads. The other was a normal food, right, with carbs. So we had a choice to go what we want. So we kind of flipped that on few days. So if you look at, say, these 8 as the parameters, or your own 8 as parameters, what are the top 2 or 3 which are critical to your boss? And that is the exercise. What are those 1, 2, or 3 elements? It can't be more than 3. If it is more than 3, then you've got the elements wrong, right? Out of those 8 elements, what are those 2 or 3 elements which are directly dependent on your boss? The boss has the control, right? This particular leader spoke about sales target and project goals. All the initiatives that could help create the pipeline and automate the sales process. A lot of other stuff that related to the sales set. There's a lot of high dependency on the boss, and the relationship was also kind of creating roadblocks instead of creating a smooth transition. Now, if you look at this particular leader, the other 6 elements are not critical. Don't even tell me personal health. Personal health at an emotional level, that person might be hammering you left and right, but it is still our choice how to react or respond, right? It's a choice that we're making. So what is it that is critical to you on a day-to-day basis? It is just these 2. So the $1,000,000 question is, for the sake of these 2 out of the 8 quadrants, do you want to quit? I know I work with CXOs and CEOs. I've had clients saying that I've just thrown up my resignation at my boss, deputy CFO to the CFO, walks out and he calls me before he even talks to his wife. And we were talking to him, discussing on the relationship with his boss, and I knew that this was coming, but he promised that he'll not quit in a jiffy. This guy walks out, right? He couldn't just tolerate. Another leader from Bangalore with a MNC, multiple centuries old, right? I know I'm withholding as much information about the brand. He was reporting to the India head. They had a very bad relationship. Again, he quit. After the quit, he was just an acquaintance. He reached out to me saying that I want to talk to you. And when he's from Bangalore, so we met at Bangalore. When he meets me at a coffee shop, I have a story around the coffee shop, my favorite place. He said, I've quit. No one except me and my boss knows this. This is in April, right? He just bargained for time till June. I think the notice period. He said, "Can you keep it secret?" And I just want time to do this. Somebody who fought and shouted at the boss and said that I'm quitting. When the boss said, "Yes, you're fired," or "I accept your resignation," that's when the truth sink in, right? Just two real life examples, both with foreign companies. Why I'm saying foreign companies is the companies which have healthy work environment. So, both of them are regretting. So the question to you is, what is the balance? Is it worth quitting the job just for sake of those two quadrants? So what are your 8 quadrants? Look at how much is directly depend on the boss. Remind yourself the boss is temporary. The organization is more permanent, is less temporary. And there's something that we choose that we attract a boss. Another quick point. I know I'm spending a little more time than we planned for this. A very big belief that I've grown up listening to, that you can't choose your boss and your parents. Now, spirituality pretty much accepts that you choose your parents. So I'm a certified healer, so I know what I'm speaking. Yeah, so we'll not go into that. That could be for another day. But take it, look at the possibility that we are accepting our parents. It's by choice. If you can choose your parents, then every damn thing in life is chosen, including your boss, your career, a job. If your parents pushed us to engineering, don't blame your parents. There's something that you've chosen. Because the day we make that acceptance and we operate into 11 and we take actions, there could be a shift. So what happens in coaching or leader as a coach is, I hold there's a light in front of me. I hold the spotlight on me. Ask myself, what is it within my control, and take action. Yeah. Any question? We pause here. Any question, comment, anything from the chat also, Karan? I'm not looking at that.
Yeah. So, so PK has a very valid addition to the 3 options available. Apart from quitting the job or confronting the boss or even staying the status quo, he's adding, could we also engage with the boss? That's the 4th option which is available for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more. Yes. Now that is the point. That you just told our strategy to PK. So does the boss know you and the boss ka boss? Your super boss, right? Do you network with your boss's peers? You might be doing a lot of great work, but you have a responsibility to communicate. One thing I have come across a lot of CXOs and senior leaders and even managers, from my friends' community, is that I do my bit. That's all. I don't need to, kind of makhan in Hindi or soap in South. I'll not do that for my boss. No, you don't need to go stoop down to that level, but you have a responsibility to communicate to what you have done. And I have personally gone through it. And looking back, I was also stupid to do that, right? No, it is not enough if you do your work. It's important that you communicate. It's important, like PK said, that you network. You connect with your boss. Managing your boss in a holistic way, not manipulating. Managing your boss is as much part of it. And in the same way, managing your boss ka boss. And the boss's peers. Again, I'll take with humility, I'll say I moved overseas in 2006. In my first appraisal, my boss specifically gave this feedback that none of my peers know you. I was very fortunate that I got a great boss. And it was my crowning glory to my corporate life because I got a phenomenal boss, general manager, and he was reporting to the deputy CEO. He was equally supportive. So I know when you have the boss and super boss who supports you, then you're absolutely a superstar. You have all the freedom to express yourself. And in my next assessment, 6 months later, we had a half-yearly assessment. Even before I brought up, my boss said that today I was heading auto finance at that point at the country level. He said, people know you, and I can see that you have worked in a very, very positive, constructive way. As a head of auto finance, it was very easy for me to connect with my boss's peers. And I had a supportive boss, right? And there are other stories which it helped. There is a complaint from the central bank that came to the CEO of a large bank. But when it went immediately to the CFO, not to my boss, who was head of retail banking, general manager banking. But the CFO just picked up the phone and called me instead of even, when the central bank reaches out to CEO an official communication about a question on the business, it could have been, we would have overreacted. But that networking helped me that it was just a false alarm. Why I'm saying that is, wherever people have quit in a jiffy and they're not happy at work, somewhere we also fail in networking internally. Networking internally is as important as your external networking. Yeah.
Subash, Karthikeyan has raised his hand, so if we can probably allow him, or we can also, if he can also put his questions in the chat box, or we can also allow him to come on the panel and
Yeah, I'll allow him to talk.
yeah.
Yes, Karthik, you
And
can
then-
unmute and speak. Yes.
You are on
muted.
mute, Karthikeyan. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Subash. I didn't get that option of unmuting myself. That's the reason I've
Yeah,
just raised
go
my
ahead.
hand.
No.
Thanks.
So any question, comment?
No, Subash. As of now, no questions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you can move to the next one. Yeah. Now, flip the coin is what actually is holding the spotlight to ourselves and asking, what is in my control? What options I have? We always speak about a golden triangle. At the bottom is I'm playing a victim. My boss is being tough with me, and the right one. Go into the shell and play the victim. Or the boss is kind of controlling. Very often, this is what we call in transaction analysis in a way of parent-child syndrome, right? The boss is, even if the boss is not playing from a space of controlling, we project that into the boss. And when the moment we do that, we are in a victim mode. Some bosses are genuinely manipulative. They do really take control. I'm not discounting that. But then the question to ask is, how do I want to handle this? See, if you are chosen to work in the corporate or business or even NGOs or academics or healthcare, you can't escape. You can't escape politics. You can't escape politics. Sorry to say this. I remember, my personal example, I was in a training session during my ICSA days at Khandala, beautiful Khandala. We had a training center at that point of time. I told my trainer who was teaching personal excellence or something. I said, the topic of politics came up from one of the participants, and he was sharing his insights. And then I said, I don't believe in politics. I don't play politics. Parvez, somebody who's a very dear friend now. Parvez came and sat on the desk. He said, if you're in corporate, you have no escape. You can't escape from the politics. But there is a way that you can handle, which is something that people don't do tactfully. So managing the boss at the holistic level, networking internally, and also going beyond I, me, right? A lot of these things also come from, unfortunately, from the space of selfishness. So look at from the boss's lens. That is a flip of the coin that you were referring to. Give the devil its due. Start looking at what is it that you want to do. Now, there is, are you just giving the more control to the boss? No. When I talk to the executive coaching clients, when we're looking at their growth and strategy and going up, one thing I invariably ask them is, what does it look like to look at from the boss's lens? What does it look like to look at from your super boss's lens? Don't look at from your role. Look at from your boss's role and look at from your super boss's role. The whole perspective changes, right? So the moment you kind of go to the next level, then there's a very different, the view goes from a ground level to a 30,000 square feet, 30,000 feet view, helicopter view. That's what a leader is supposed to do. Yeah. Most important, the second line, it's also about giving the relationship a truly second chance. Please remember, the boss does not is not permanent. Organizations also often are not very permanent. Relationships are enduring. We have to give a second chance to relationship. The guy whom I said, the deputy CFO who quit, he joined another company. He's still with them. And his in the new place, the problem he had was not with his boss. He said, I have a superstar working with me. And that guy is not aligned with my vision. He's not supportive with me. He's from Delhi, nor NCR. He says, "Oh, mera banda nahi hai." He's not my guy. He's not my go-to guy. So even the best employee in your team was not supportive. And what a leader goes through is something that we ignore. So every relationship you have to give a second chance. In this case, almost 5 months down the line, he himself told me, saying that something has shifted in our relationships. This guy has turned around. And then I said, it was never about him. Perhaps it was about you. Perhaps, I don't know. So he had just given a second chance to the relationship. So when he threw the relationship at the previous company's CFO and walked out, he had his young wife and a toddler daughter. So he said it was impacting me at my relationship. But when this happened in the subsequent role, his wife told him, something is shifted within you. Don't lose it. Yeah. His peers at the organization, he says the production head of productions, right, manufacturing. He also asked this guy, something is moving within you. Kuch to ho raha hai, those who speak Hindi. What is happening? Why I'm saying, when he saw the shift in his subordinates relationship, and his production head said this, and his wife said this, then he acknowledged that something has shifted within me. And it was all within himself. There is nothing that he has done externally. Yeah, this is a recorded case study which will be publishing. Yeah. So give every relationship a second chance. And one of my favorite quotes attributed to Gautama Buddha is, this too shall pass. So anyone who is suffering from a bad boss, this too shall pass. There's something that you're learning. Again, a personal example. I've had great bosses. I've had some very tough bosses. I've had some very nasty bosses, very anti, somebody who's always pulled the rug under me. Right? And I'm sure if he listens to he'll know who's that. There's one person whom I've not been able to really overcome the trauma even now, after so many years. Right? I still don't know what I did to attract that kind of energy into my relationships and life. Right? But then I moved on at a professional level. And today, when any client speaks about toxic relationships at work and bosses who don't promote you, and pretty much we understand what it is. I'm not just being empathetic, which I truly am. I am, and I'm trained to be empathetic to my client. But as a leader, as a coach, you have to tap into that empathy. Like Karan said, Daniel Goleman, one of the gurus in emotional intelligence, kind of has brought in this whole emotions into the corporate leadership, right? So, I had somebody this morning, a senior executive at an MNC, who said, a lot of leaders are just very shallow, one level deeper. And that's why I really want to become a coach and kind of shift consciousness in this, right? So and he says, I'm not looking at becoming a professional coach tomorrow or the year after. I'm very happy at my work, but I want to bring in coaching into my work. This morning, right? And if he signs up, maybe, and if some of you sign up, I'll be even able to name who that person is. Why I'm saying this is MNCs and evolved entities are acknowledging the need to shift the leadership, a leadership that is based on coaching as a style. And as PK rightly pointed out, PK is a fellow coach and a dear friend. You need to bring in all those 6 styles of leadership. Today, when you're facing a crisis, you have to be giving instructions. And that's what leader as a coach is. Yeah. We can pause here and see if there are any comments, questions. Karan, anything?
Yes.
Anything you want to add, Karan?
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to add was, when we were deliberating and making this, so you can imagine two generations are putting their thoughts in one presentation. So I was trying to kind of frame it. I was thinking ki if I'm talking about, looking at it from the boss's lens, one question, because coaching is all about powerful questioning. So if at all you are suffering from, let's say, not so supportive boss, one question which I can ask myself is, what is that one event or one incident or one thing which I can do that will turn the table, and I might become bosses, like my relationship might be, mended. So what is that one thing? It could be delivering, let's say, a month's target, it could be closing a big deal, it could be as simple as coming on time, right? It could be as simple as that. What is that one thing if I can do that will turn the table and boss might become supportive? What is that one critical thing? If we could ask that question, maybe go back, reflect on it. If at all you are having struggling with not so supportive bosses, that could be a very good actionable to take away from. Now, Subhash, there's a question from Raghavendra. So our
I
Raghav.
want to add one more thing before I take the question, Karan. Again, I am bringing in some elements of my personal life today, which I normally don't do so much as a corporate leader. The same boss. So I used to sit in one tower. My general manager of retail banking of a large bank used to sit in the next tower. So, what I always used to do when I used to meet him was I used to call his secretary and check if he's free, right? And and just not necessarily take time because we had an open door policy. So I'll just check with the secretary still whether he's free. If he's busy with something, then I don't want to bother. Then I go. No, I had total unlimited access to him on phone or on mobile or personally. But I would walk in always with a notepad with a list to discuss. And in one meeting, I would pretty much discuss some of the things that I want to get guidance or resolve or escalation and all that stuff that we typically see in retail banking. And so many times he had told me that I wish all my reportees would do this, though I have told them to come. But just having an open door policy, which was more a company culture, it was not aligned with his style. And again, a lot of other people, it was not, perhaps, I was more just slightly more aware or empathetic to pick up his style, his preferred style. And I wonder why my peers who are all senior to me in terms of age and experience don't pick it up. Just a small example to back up, Karan's theory. Back
Sure.
to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Subhash. So Raghav is asking, I had a very curious case. My boss and boss's boss both were unsupportive. Now, how do we deal with that?
So, so I'm assuming it is your early organization. So I'm sure things are far better today. Uh, Praise for that. Number one. So the one thing is, again, this might sound philosophical. It's very easy for me to stand here and say this, but this really comes from my heart, and I wish I knew this when I was, kind of in the corporate. One is that one question to ask. Don't even ask for an answer, but just stay in the reflective space. That what is it that have attracted this particular energy or consciousness? This might sound metaphysical, but I'm taking the liberty to say this. What is it that I have attracted this energy into my life or work relationship? That is number one. Number two, the coin, what is in my control? Yeah. What is it still that I can do? What happens is very often, I know a very strong phrase. We come from that state of, why am I being victimized? I'm kind of in a victim mode, right? Or an entitlement mode, saying that, I'm working hard, I'm contributing, I'm selfless, I'm a team player, but still, why is my boss and super boss like this, right? I'm still curious what was their perspective. Another one, third point, my worst boss that I mentioned, actually, I left my organization. To be very frank, at that point of time, I left the organization. I had this sadistic pleasure of going and respectfully offer my resignation on 31st March midnight because we are closing. I was with the bank, NBFC. I wanted to resign on 31st and I resigned because of the boss, right? And I knew if I had a coach at that point of time, I wouldn't have done any of this. So the point that subsequently that I realized was what was in his life, whether his upbringing, his insecurities, and it was insecurities. There is an element of insecurity. He saw me as his threat. If at all there was anyone in his team, in the large whole of North and East market, I was his threat and sitting in Delhi that too, right? So that, I mean, which came to know. So the point is, what is their perspective? To be fair to that guy, when I moved back from abroad, the first job offer I got was from him as a CEO of a large uh, corporate group, respected group now. He had moved out of that role too. But what I'm saying is he still reached out to me. Why I'm saying that is, I didn't throw resignation, I didn't show disrespect. I maintained that cool relationship so much so that when he got to know that I'm returning, he still offered me the job. So the point I'm saying that is to summarize, what is it that I am attracting that energy? What is in my control? And what is boss's mental map? And very often it's one of the two. It may not be both, right? Either the boss is feeding the super boss or the super boss is feeding the boss. So it's all the more important that you network the boss's peers and definitely do some networking with your super boss. I know this may all sound theory, but it has worked in a lot of my clients' cases, more as in my clients' cases rather than me, because I didn't know a lot of this stuff when I was in the corporate. If I had known all this, I would have never left the corporate. I would have stayed. I don't know, Raghav, if it makes sense.
Yeah, great. So we will
I think
go
we'll
ahead to
pause
the
here,
second.
Karan. Maybe take this for the next session.
Sure.
Because if there are any other questions, we have just 12 minutes. So
There is a comment from PK. You made a brief mention of the politics and you cannot escape politics and corporate. PK is mentioning that good politics is actually good for the organization as well. So
very good point. Very good point. Yeah, though is there something like good politics? But yeah, but yes, good politics is good. Like Karan, you made that like good confront in our last meeting with the client. Good confrontation is good,
yes,
right? The good fight is good. Otherwise, if everyone is yes man, then it becomes an autocratic leadership. I agree. Some politics also keeps us on the toes, the leaders.
sure,
Yeah.
great.
So,
So
like Indigo, we can pause here and resume this in the next. We'll come back with more stories. This recording will be made available on the YouTube channel. If you'd like to, I mean, those of you who are going to watch this on YouTube, we would like to hear more comments. Feel free to, if you can go to the contact last slide, Karan, yeah, maybe just pause here, the previous slide. Yeah, I mean, the purpose of this is, I'll be very candid, it's to promote the upcoming leader as coach training program. And we have done this both open programs and in-house programs at companies like Ford and a South American tech company for 23 of the leaders and the CEO 24 of them. And the cohort starts on 21st. It's on a Sunday deliberately, and it is 5 consecutive Sundays for us, 4 into 5, 20 hours. We introduce you to coaching skills, the concepts and practice. There's a lot of practice that will make you do. Regal at 60 is the whole, life vision exercise. My favorite tool, which is taught to all the coaches that we train. We also discuss concepts like level 5 leadership, Jim Collins in Good to Great, servant leadership, very different perspective, right? Not just theory. And also we do one-to-one mentoring based on Regal at 60 and any other constraints that you're facing. And just about what Regal Unlimited is, we are into the 8th year of our training, though we are celebrating 10 years this year. We have trained 300 plus coaches for their ICF journey. We have trained 1,000 plus leaders and executives, both leader as a coach and other workshops, 1,000 plus, yeah, including some very big brands like TCS, IMT Ghaziabad, IIM Bangalore, INSEAD a couple of times, TCS 3 times, by the way. Yeah, SPAR for those who are in Bangalore, the French giant. Yeah, and so we have done this at a lot of in-house programs, also workshops. And over 50, including some Fortune 100 companies, have been touched through this. We are not a volume player. We play in the area of leadership development through coaching and coach training in a very niche space. Yeah. Any questions? Reach out at Info@Regal Unlimited. We are all over the social media. So you can't miss us on Facebook and LinkedIn. That's our website. Those of you who are joining the batch immediately, we are also offering a 20% discount. The fee is 50,000. If you join, you drop a mail today. Those of you who are attending today, you get a 20% discount. Yeah, at 40K, including GST, 18% GST. And hope to see some of you in the upcoming batch on 21st. Any questions, feel free to connect. One of us will get back to you. Yeah, anything you want to add before we say goodnight?
Yeah, so maybe we can give them a link for scheduling a call if you want to
Sure.
call. Yes, so
Yes.
just give me a minute. I'll put the link in the chat box. You can use this link to schedule a call to maybe get to know more about the program, and also if you want to
You will connect with me.
yeah, they can
A quick chat follow-up.
directly.
Any questions? How does it work for me? While Karan is sharing the chat, I want to share something, which we don't promote online, is this 20 hours is also part of the ICF curriculum. So typically some of the leaders from the corporate space who have a doubt whether I want to become a coach or am I cut out for becoming a coach, they start with this program. This gives you clarity whether you're cut out. This 20 hours will not be a waste of time, that I can guarantee. But if you are debating whether, I know a couple of you are here are having this question. I specifically invited somebody, he's on the call. So this is a good starting point. And if you choose to go to the ACC journey later, you only have to do the differential hours and the balance payment. Yeah. So you have an advantage if you start with this, and it's a good foundation program. Based on customer feedback.
Yeah, so I have put the link in the chat box. Please use the link to schedule the call. You can have one-on-one with Subash, and we can see where it goes. Happy leading, happy coaching, and get back to us in case you have any feedback about the presentation as well. We are all ears. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.